All right, everybody. Good morning. I see the red bar, so you guys should have sound, but we will see. Let me know if the sound is okay. I had to do a couple adjustments again. I think I got YouTube working now. They changed some of it. They used to have like this go button, and now I don't have a go button. It just goes live like Twitch does. So I love when they do like stealth updates and they don't tell you or anything. And then obviously they change the stream key in the middle of it, so it's always fun. So much joy. Go YouTube. Sound is okay. Decent level. All right, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. How was everybody's weekend? Hopefully good. Kind of crazy for me here. They were here with me for 2 weeks and they're going to their mom's in Michigan. And I guess their car needed like a new windshield, and then all of a sudden an alternator this weekend. So it was like one day they were supposed to be leaving on Saturday, then it was then it'll be Tuesday, then it switched back and it was Sunday again. So it was literally like every day, like it was changing when we were going to switch around. So yeah, it got to be hard there, but yeah, they're gone. So we are boyless for 2 weeks, and yeah, it should be fun. It'll be quiet. Shouldn't say fun because I'll definitely miss them, but it will definitely be quiet. And we'll see if their sister's okay with it. She was already upset last night that they weren't around, so I think she got pretty attached to him in 2 weeks. So she will probably drive mommy and daddy nuts now because we are going to have to be the ones to play with her all the time. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, it looks like all the destruction from last week is gone too. They finally came. They took the tree. Power is back. Most of the leaves are gone and back where they're supposed to be. So yeah, it was like a good, relaxing, but like also tiring weekend. But yeah, we're here back on Monday. We did get one little update in the stimulus situation, and it's pretty interesting. I'm actually kind of happy about it. I think it's a good sign. So the president basically said if they're not done, I'm going to write an executive order, and that's what he did. He did the executive order for $400. For the unemployment, which again is kind of the middle ground. It's not the 6, it's not the 2 or nothing, but it's even 400. I think that's great. He's unable to do the check, right? That's something that Congress actually has to approve. It's not in his wheelhouse that he's able to do it. It's not an executive orderable type thing. So I'm assuming we'll see that earlier this week. I haven't checked this morning. I don't see anything that says that it's out yet, and I'm sure we will see that. But I'm assuming we'll see that sometime this week. Because at this point, all the big election claims of like, well, we did this and that side of the aisle didn't do that. The president stole it from him. He gave him the opportunity and just ended up doing it. So it's good. Like I said, I feel like he's using a ton of executive orders, but this is one of the ones that I think was the right thing to do. So we'll see if Congress is able to, respond accordingly. I still think it's mud in their face, the fact that they couldn't get it done and it had to be executive ordered out, but we'll see. All right. So, all right. Basically, in the last 24 hours, we've had okay movement. It's been pretty decent for, a Sunday night into Monday morning. You see minus 36 in the euro. The pound is down just slightly as well. And again, these are dollar strength stories. Euro pound, dollar yen and dollar Swiss, both are also up. Dollar CAD, basically flat. Aussie dollar, basically flat. Euro pound, basically flat. And then pound yen, up 16, but basically flat. Again, that one there's not as much there. But again, it's the continuing dollar story. Last week and the last 2 weeks has really been nothing about dollar weakness. And it will typically rebound, rebalance itself back out again. And that's kind of what it's doing. No real news today. All we have really tonight is this NAB business confidence. That coffee's hot. You guys, we have like an automatic coffee maker. Some days I swear that the temperature is twice as hot as normal. So I don't expect to be today a huge day. Today is obviously going to be one of those media-driven days. You guys know what I mean by that. Look down here for what the hottest stories are. First one over here is talking about U.S. dollar comeback ahead of U.S.-China tensions, push higher. So yeah, we're seeing it here. We're seeing, China will sanction U.S. officials in response to Hong Kong. Okay, whatever. Sanction us. It's not as big a deal for us. And then the great Chinese money experiment is over. So yeah, really nothing in here. Johnson won't hesitate to reintroduce quarantine if needed. Yeah. I mean, it's, that's fair. That's fair. There's nothing wrong with that one. And then look, gold, euro, Aussie, and pound pullback as NFP beats. So, yeah, the world is not ending as much as everybody thought it was. So that's what we got today. Going into tomorrow morning. So first thing we had tomorrow morning early, again, before chart school, will be that the GDP, the claimant count, which is their unemployment number. That'll offer some movement in the pound tomorrow, but you can see there's really nothing as well. Settings wise, you can see everything is selected, and we got nothing tomorrow as well. So, welcome to August. I mean, this is what happens. This is why August is traditionally a lower volume month. Tomorrow night, we have everything popping off for New Zealand, but again, we will talk before that time tomorrow. So, really, again, I expect a quiet day. There'll be some small intraday trades. The only real catalyst today will be, any type of big media releases, news, stimulus, a bombing. It's going to be media driven, so a little bit harder to do. But I will say that opens us up for some interesting things this morning because, again, we will have that initial kind of surge one way or the other first thing in the morning. Again, that is retail traders reacting to weekend news, and then again that does set us up for potential 10 o'clock, 10:30 reversals in many things. Just because again, retail traders need to react from over the weekend and then realize that they are wrong very quickly. All right. So let's dive right into charts. We'll go over, actually, let me do scanner real quick too. So scanner is pretty interesting. Scanner is basically showing me this morning that whatever we've started this so far this weekend is just the trend that we're continuing in. What you can see here is you can see a lot of check marks. All right. So this is one of the things that I like to see on the scanner, because it shows consistency. Again, one thing that we are seeing that is consistent right now, again, euro weakness, they are red across the board. And then over here, look at the majors, dollar strength. Okay, dollar strength is really the name of the game right now. That's the big boy. That's the driving force right now, right? The U.S. is in the first 3 positions, U.S. in the second, 4 positions, and you can see blue and red accordingly. So again, dollar strength is the story of the morning. Okay, now again, with no news, with any, no media or anything like that, that is also probably going to be what we see throughout today. Kind of a retrace, and people are going to start, listen, I'm bearish. Should I not be bearish? Debating, going, back and forth on those things. Okay. Now, euro weakness is also important. Okay. They've gone through almost their entire trading session. And again, we're seeing, a retracement back on them. And they've also been very strong in the last couple of weeks. Been consistent. I'd say consistently strong is a better option. Now, looking at the next pair, besides the US dollar, which is in the third slot, the Canadian dollar is showing us strength as well. Okay. The US dollar and the Canadian dollar, not as strong as the US dollar, but you'll see CAD in the first spot, up. CAD in the second spot, down. Okay, so again, we're seeing dollar strength, and again, it is kind of losing the dollar battle, but CAD puts itself into second place very, very fast, which gives us some opportunities also. And again, look at this CAD yen. CAD yen is just rolling, right? CAD yen is just rolling right now. Now, the Aussie, again, inflation, gold wasn't there, so we're seeing negativity there, right? We're seeing that push back down. Now, this one is a little bit more mixed. I wouldn't say that it is consistent across the board, right? We do have some confirmed movement on the 30-minute, and again, it's it's the Aussie. It's going to stay linked with gold right now. You'll see. I think that one will continue to be a little bit weaker today, and it's super high on the curve on basically everything. So I don't think that necessarily is the wrong call to be kind of flipping back down and kind of bringing down its weakness, because that's been a pure gold play. I don't think their economy, their country, really nothing signifies that they've had complete recovery yet. Or accelerated recovery is kind of a term that I'm probably going to start using a bit more. We're not seeing that yet, right? Pound wise, again, we're seeing some weakness. Little strength, little weakness, not as bad as what the euro is seeing, right? The euro is all red. In this case, again, we are seeing strength versus the euro, because again, that pops up over here pretty strong, but only 8 pips in 24 hours, so not too much. But we're seeing a mixture, except versus the Aussie and versus New Zealand. So it's kind of an interesting play of kind of strength versus weakness of where everybody is right now. Like I said, dollar, CAD are the 2 driving forces right now. Euro is obviously being weak. Aussie and pound are also kind of more on the weak side of things. Okay. All right. So let's go over to chart time. All right. Let's move that out of the way. Oh, it's still hot. I'm one of those people too. So I know a lot of people are. I'm not. There are people out there that like their coffee like scalding hot, right? Now, these are also typically the people that throw like 2 creamers, 2 a French vanilla this, they throw all the foo-foo stuff in it. I just drink coffee that's black. So scorching hot coffee, because again, they want it at a hot temperature still when they've added all this cold stuff into it. It drives me nuts. My wife puts in like, hers is like half French vanilla creamer, but I think that's why the temperature must be hotter today. I'm like, oh God. So I'm doing that like slurping, that just slurping off the top part. Is kind of what we're at. All right, so Aussie dollar. As you guys can see in the overnight, I mean, again, we are continuing to push lower on this one. Nothing too crazy. I mean, the opening candle in this one, the opening print was a little bit funky, right? We go from here to here, right? And you can see it's just this up and down, kind of open, close, didn't really do much, kind of cleared some orders out either direction. Now, interesting enough, and again, let me move this piece out, the 71.73 area, right? So this was an area we had talked about last week that we're using as a target. And again, one of those kind of make sure you're out by this level. And that was the short that we got, that we put in, right? It ended up dropping much faster. It didn't end up giving us the kind of the second touch of that entry. It came down and ended up bouncing off that level. Now, interesting enough, look at this. If I take this, we'll continue this side because it's easy. Check that out. Check that out. So yet another example of the old becomes new when we've had these confirmed levels. Okay. Now again, this is one of those ones on a Sunday night that you could have gotten an entry in this one. I'll actually move this one. That'll come back. Whoops. Let's see. It's always easy to grab the corners. The yellow one's kind of hard to see the dot in the middle. Okay. So there was a small trade here that you guys could have taken in the overnight. And as you can see, at this point, it's already hit its full profit target. Where's it? There was your entry. And again, this one drove pretty deep into your zone, but ended up just triggering just a little while ago and bouncing off of it. Right now on this, I would have to say I'm probably still bearish in the overnight, or at least, into this morning. Well, that'd be great if I could move that. I know it's not going to stay there though. If this can continue across, there's a little bit over here. Like when you look at the candle formation here, you can see that, where this bounced, this here, you can see that we're dealing with a small little kind of, little wick over wick type situation right there. But there's not really much below it, right? And again, you could say that this is tested. You could argue that, again, these candles coming off and it retested. And that's where it hit. And again, that would have been what I was looking for the 1 to 3. And we've hit that now. Now, if we push back in here again, depending on, we're at a little bit of a basing level now. If we continue to push lower, I do think that's a viable trade setup. Taking this one back down into the 71.18. And I do think we will get down to that level today. Again, like I said, with no news, there's nothing really to debunk anything right now. And again, we're seeing this kind of dollar strength come back into the market. And there's really no reason today that, U.S. traders will step in and say, no, weak dollar, bam, and slam the hammer down. So, what I could see is, again, if this is going to continue for the next hour, if it's going to retrace back up again, I do see and do think that we could probably get some more shorts out of this yellow area. I was trying to grab this. And again, that area is approximately around 71.64. And for those of you with the indicator, you can see the indicator has actually drawn that. That was actually the entry, right, into this first kind of pop up and rollover. But again, it ended up marking you off. It liked what it saw on both sides of this one to be able to say, hey, listen, this is a big bit of movement off. We need to make sure that we, take advantage of that one. Okay. So that's what we have for the Aussie dollar this morning. This one is kind of more or less just bounced and it's gone a little bit higher. So it more or less opened down here inside of this zone. And again, it kind of contradicts what we saw on the Aussie dollar, kind of that push to the downside. And this one is rallying a little bit. It's having some problems. Again, it's moved out. It was a it was a opening in a zone type trade, right? Here's a 30-minute. Let's reset all those things. Pull this over there. You guys can see there's where the open was, right? So it brings us in right here, right here, right there. So again, you guys can see we gapped down, we touched it, and then we kind of came back up again. And it's still floating around the same level. So a little bit of movement in this one. I would say this one is more or less consolidating. It is definitely trying to push higher. It's definitely testing these highs in here, the basing level here, the basing level here. And again, it's touched 1, 2, we're kind of 3, and we're kind of attempting to do our 4th push right now. This one to me also looks like this one could get a little bit of Aussie strength into it to pull up a bit higher. There's a minor zone here. Nothing really that you look at and you're like, yeah, that's a great level. I'd love to short off that level for this one. Nothing right now. I'll remove this. We can kind of clean that up a little bit. That is fine. We're going to continue that across. It's a potential top area. So yeah, so there's some small stuff in here. Again, like I said, this is probably the most probable kind of turning point. Again, this impulse corrective move, impulse back to the downside. But it's all right. It's all right. I'd say maybe like a B. I wouldn't say definitely not an A plus base level, but it's definitely a B-ish, and we'll see. I mean, if it's able to come down back in this level again, take profit. There's a lot of kind of slow, grindy forward on this one. If anything on this, I'd be waiting for kind of a big spike up again to kind of dictate what we're looking for next, right? Again, large, fast spike up, retrace, large spike back up, and that open up the retrace on us. I like to get a little bit of oomph in this one. And again, maybe the business confidence tonight does that. But right now, it's just kind of very, very grindy, kind of slow back and forth. I mean, we're really fluctuating inside of like a 10 pip range. So just not enough really meat for this one for us to trade. Now, Euro yen is very, very high. And we talked about this. This is a daily chart right now. Again, I'll bring it back down to lower time frames. You can kind of see where things are established. So anything short right now needs to be out before 124. Okay. Again, this is a level that's, spiked into, has been tested. There are a few levels higher. And again, you guys can see where the gap was here. There was a 30-minute position here. Oops. Right there. There's where the gap was. It did come back up. It touched it, and it continued to push back down again. So, I mean, this was a valid short to the downside. Where we are right now, I mean, besides kind of the weekend gap on this one, I don't know. There's really not much in here. I mean, this is really kind of choppy. There's a little bit below. I mean, there's a little bit of a position here. It's all right. Not great. And again, there's a position right here that's, it's again, it dropped, it stabilized, and then kind of pushed back up again. So, I mean, there's an argument that, yes, there is a zone just slightly below. On an hourly, you can kind of get a better picture of that, and it's more bouncing off the candles that we've seen over here. Overall, the higher we go up time frames, the more and more this one looks like it needs to be a short. It needs to pull back down again and get back into respectable levels. It's a little bit high right now. But again, a lot of that going forward right now will be the yen, right? We've seen the euros kind of time come. We're looking more for the yen at this point. Looking for it to roll over more, So, things that I would be cautious with. Again, there's a slight level in here. Again, a very fast drop down, a one candle base, and then a nice little pop out of it again. And you could argue that this got close and this got close and things like that. But right now, this one is just purely consolidating to the side. It just not enough there, right? There's not enough there right now. So I don't really like any of the other short targets currently right now. You could use that gap candle again if you're really looking for something. But at this point, I want to see what happens when the U.S. market comes online. I'd like to see, I like to see what kind of power the yen's going to throw around today. Like I said, it may be a stale day, but if it starts giving us some movement, at least that will give us kind of a good baseline for starting Monday off. Like I said, the only trade for this one last night was the Sunday night gap on this one. Again, the spike in and then the drop to the downside. And I believe that was inside the report last night. There was a couple there, not as many as I liked, but there was a couple in there. I think this is one of them that I actually threw in. I don't throw all of them into the Sunday report, guys. Just FYI. Last week I did, and it was kind of like one of those, like, do I really want these? These are basically the same trade. And I did it, and two of them were break-evens because it was the same trade. All right, pound. So pound is also very, very similar. So pound at least has given us a little bit more direction. Okay, we've seen the testing of that 139.04. Okay, again, we hit that last week. This one's gap came in. Actually, let me bring it down to a 30-minute. Looks really impressive there, right? All right. Let's see. Gap on this one came in right here. Okay, so really not much of a gap whatsoever. It was in kind of the same candle range, and really we're only slightly different from where it opened. So not much on this one, as you guys can see on the 30-minute. Hourly, I think, is giving us the best picture. Shorts up in the 139.04 range. Now longs are a little bit different. So we do have this green zone here, and it's been touched here, touched again, although it drove pretty deep into the zone. So it's about that far into the zone. Technically, it's the third hit of this zone. But if you look back, we actually had one spike here, and then it's kind of like there's probably two, there's three, there's probably four, depending if you count this one. So this one is getting to the debatable stage of, is that zone necessarily going to hold? And you need to ask yourself, what would be a cleaner entry? Okay. For me, I think this 37 or 137.50, this yellow zone right here, this is a zone that price has not come back down to yet, right? We saw a nice little push higher, a kind of base grind sideways, and then an explosion from that zone. It hasn't come back yet. So while this may offer some short-term, kind of trading here, and again, dropping it on the 30-minute, you can see it's such a minor zone. It's a very, very tiny zone, and it's been touched. So, there's probably something small in that one. Again, not with this level of risk here of the yellow, but probably closer to the green level of risk here. If this one is timed right, there could be a nice little setup off this one, a nice little bounce. This zone right here, I probably wouldn't have taken. It's just too close in proximity. And again, it's still just grinding sideways. It's a pop off of that, but only because the market's opened. This little one up here, I would ignore. So I still think the hourly is the one to look at. If you want to take something minor off of this small level, drop it down to the 30-minute. But 139.04 and 137.51 are really my top and bottom brackets right now for the pound yen. Now, pound dollar. All right. So pound dollar, right? This one, we had a couple different things. We had some shorts high. That one didn't come in. So let's delete that right now just to kind of clean this chart up a little bit. We had areas down here we were looking to get long in this 129.77. And we're using that as kind of our top and bottom brackets on this one. On the higher level, we talked about that we had two zones here, right? We had one zone here and then one just slightly higher. And we weren't sure that this was going to hold because of non-farm. Non-farm came in what we kind of expected, and it gave us that dollar strength pushing back in. And that's what gave us a short last week. Right now, I would say if anything, it's really just kind of followed in its path and it's kind of at the same area. Now, we had a drop and a pullback, but we're really at the same spot. And here's where the gap happened, right here in these two candles. So, we do have a level that was tested. Really, the more conservative level is just below it. So it's kind of up to you guys on that one. You guys can see on the 30-minute, that level kind of dissipates rather, rather quickly, right? It's didn't spend much time. That's about a 13 pip zone. So what I would probably say is, again, oops, I moved that. I didn't want to move that. That's fine. What I would say is if price is able to come down to this level in, approximately 129.91, and again, also coincide with this time, there is a potential setup here as well, somewhat in that range. Now, we can't really see what it's going to look like. We can't really tell if the profit target looks like it's going to be good on that one. But again, right now, that's something that, keep on your radar. That could be an interesting setup, again, depending on if it's the right time. Now, top side, will we get short anywhere in this one? So this is a little bit different of a situation. So this red zone here is about 28 pips. 28 pips on a 30-minute time frame is really not it's not necessarily the best zone to take. Now, the zone has been tested, so it does show us that there are buyers in there. Unfortunately, the way this one is formed, it's going to be difficult to really kind of grab a good solid level out of that one, right? There is a smaller zone, and again, one that this went off of here. And I wasn't really the biggest fan originally because, again, this one peaked at the top, and I mentioned this before. This one pushed all the way to the end. So I don't think that is really what's going to hold it. 15-minute wise on this one, I don't think we yet. 15-minute is the same situation. It just the way the candles are formed, this is still about a 15 pip area. I would say if anything, we're going to have to drop to this low of a time frame to be able to grab it. And it'll look like something like this, okay? That area comes in at approximately 30.96 is kind of what I'm looking for. And again, only because there's so much momentum off of this one. And again, I don't go to 15 too much, but only because there's so much momentum off of this one, it shows us that something happened. There was definitely somebody stepped in, right? Big money was there to move that one. You can see that it brackets off basically just the wick area of that one. So, I'm okay with that as well. So for me, 130.96 on the top side and 129.91 on the bottom side, I think are both good areas. So yeah, she has some coffee with her creamer. Exactly, Nara. And it's like not just like it's like 2.5, 3 creamers worth, but she just gets like I don't know if it's like a half gallon or whatever it is, the half gallon of the French vanilla creamer. And yeah, it's like a third of a cup of creamer. It's like, holy crap. It's like so sweet. I can't drink it at all. All right. So euro pound. So euro pound, guys, it is respecting a level. And we talked about this level last week that we had this base, this pop over and kind of the push. It ended up going back up and it got close to where we were looking for entries. And here's where the gap is right here from the weekend. We were sitting kind of over here, at Friday chart school time. And we mentioned, this one looks like it wants to continue to roll down. Would love it to just go a bit higher, but it's probably not. And ended up going all the way back down to hitting where the opposing entry was. So at this point, it did offer a nice bounce this morning. It is, again, in its push back up again off of that area of buyers, you can see it's hitting again this kind of like rollover effect, right? As well as a nice push down. So I think at this point, I think the euro pound will continue to push back lower again. I think it will test that zone, and it'll be entry number 3 into that zone. So big question is it going to hold? Is it not going to hold? I would not be, at this point at 8:30 in the morning, I would not be interested in taking this one for another long off that level. If anything, I'd be looking for somewhat of a failure off that level. I think we're, kind of due. And again, really dropping it down from the hourly to 30, you can see here was that first retest. Here was that second retest. So we do kind of have a clean level a bit lower. And again, here's where that kind of rollover effect is what I mentioned here. See how it was rolling over right where this big push was? Again, on your 30-minute, there's where your touch was at that same level. And I do think this will come back down again. And again, if you are short this position, you got about 20 more pips to go in this short. I think this would be kind of the direction for the morning, and we need to be out by this level. Now, would I take a long off this level? I don't know. I mean, again, I do like how it dropped single. Actually, it was a double base and then a punch forward. So it was a good level there. But what concerns me about this one, especially on a Monday morning, and it'll be outside of both of these 2 market hours when it hits, is this is where we were at over here. So it spent a lot of time going into this level, right? Here, and then punch down again. So there are only so many orders that can exist in this kind of lower level here. Okay. Now, could it be worth something small? Yeah, potentially. I mean, the risk on it is very tiny. The risk is only about 6 pips. So there is a bounce in there. I would not use Nadex for this one. I don't think we will be you won't be able to overcome the spread differential on this one. It's not going to be a fast mover. Now, depending on what it does today, as I said, we're about 25 pips back to that level again. I do think that this is a potential area to watch out for tomorrow morning. Okay. For this claimant count number, they're not giving us a forecast, but you guys can see what the previouses have looked like on this one. Again, this was not as bad as what they thought, but now what are we seeing? We're seeing news about saying, hey, we'll quarantine again if we have to. Right? So we have not gotten the forecast, but this claimant count could, again, this is the unemployment number in the UK. Okay. So we'll see, depending on what the forecast is, when we finally get that number print, I think that this could set us up for, again, or they're great news, which again will help us push away, or vice versa. It could give us a break and a Harry Potter trade entry on this one. So it's something that I'm watching for. Again, if you were short this morning, you're in a good position. I do think it will roll over. I do think it will continue to push lower. And again, that was taking it from, again, being able to see where this rollover and this big push was to refining it down on your 30-minute and finding the actual kind of the push back to the downside. If you're in this right now, you guys are up about 11, 12 pips. So it's obviously a free trade at this point. That's where you would have your risk to reward set up, so your profit targets. All right. Euro dollar. So euro dollar is bouncing back again. As you guys can see, we had a little bit of a 30-minute position on this one. And again, this is a break over prior level. It ended up getting it and now has pushed all the way down through both of its profit targets. At this point, it needs to go a little bit lower. This is an old zone. I think we had it on this. Oops, not that. Hold on. Delete that. No, it is this one. It was the lower one we did it off of. It was this one. Okay. So there was your violation again. There was your break. That was a setup from last week. Again, here's where. Where is it? Right here. Yeah, here's where the weekend gap was. So all it did was a comeback. It came back up, grabbed that level, and continued to push lower. So, both profit targets. Actually, I think this one missed just by a little bit. Yeah, it just missed. It's 1 to 5. I would say wait for this one to come a bit lower, if anything else. There's a little tiny zone here. I think looking at it on the hourly is probably because you can see it disappears very, very fast. This is probably the better one right here. It's about a 7 pip zone. Again, this is a potential 10 o'clock reversal today area. Ideally, I do like this one farther down here. This is one that's been, held pretty firm, and we were actually looking for, when it finally does break this 116.81, that would be a short trade as well. But there may be again, a 10 o'clock reversal bounce based off of this kind of negative movement that we've had. Again, everybody knows, dollar strong, dollar strong, dollar strong. Everybody starts getting the dollar strong positions, and then boom, it goes dollar weak on us, right? So this is also a 10 o'clock reversal kind of trade setup for me. It's got about 30 pips to go, so it's going to need some movement. But again, in the next hour, US traders will come online. This one, This hourly has a 15 pip ATR already. So again, can it move that much in the next 2 hours? Yeah, absolutely. It could definitely drop that much, and it's already starting to kind of pull back again. So, short term, kind of long here is something that I'm kind of, dabbling with. Again, I'm going to keep on my radar. But, bigger picture wise, again, if we have, go back to 4 hour. We had this zone again. We were talking about this is just too big to really do any analysis in. But if we have a break of this 116.81, again, this is a review from last week. We're looking at targets down to 116 at flat. We had this nice push through this 80 pip, really pushed with no movement at all, really back, no retracements. So if we could come through and break that one, again, we're looking to short. So it's just been finding shorts in this one is really what the name of the game has been. But that was your trade set up in the overnight. This one triggered 2 o'clock in the morning. So London Openish is when this one triggered. And this actually would have been a great 8x trade, right? This is a total of about 61 pips in a few hours. So not too bad. 3 strike prices to the downside. All right, dollar CAD. So dollar CAD, we're just bouncing around a small level. We talked about this level last week as well. You're seeing right here. Right here is where the weekend gap was. All it did was really pull down, go back up, grab that level, and we're still really in the same type of level of consolidation. Now, it does have a top formed. What I mean by top is it's directly horizontal. The bottom wise, again, we could kind of draw it this way. You could draw it this way. There's many different ways to draw this one. Here's your 3 touches if you're looking for 3 touches. If you're one of those like, I need to be exact. There's your 3 touches to the top side. So you guys can see that there is a pattern in this one. It is making more attempts to the top side. And again, this is not really seeing the dollar strength story as much as you are in other pairs. But remember, when we looked at the scanner, it was the dollar and it was the CAD that were strong. So they're kind of washing each other out. This week for CAD news, there's really nothing. I mean, Wednesday there's basically U.S. news, but it's not a big CAD news-based week. The only thing that I can see what will affect this one is more of the kind of trade dispute talk with aluminum and the tariffs based off of aluminum with the U.S. and Canada. That's about the biggest driver of where I see movement in this one being. I don't really. It's just there's not like a lot of great setups on this one. I like these 2 levels higher for shorts. Obviously, it's having a very difficult time here, but with the lows getting higher and higher and higher, there are also buyers in. So it's kind of in a, for lack of a better word, it's in a consolidation phase right now. It is. Again, it is retraced much of this drop. It's got highs that are starting to go a bit lower, but it's also got the lows that are getting higher. So, if you are willing to take a short on this one, I don't think that's necessarily a bad trade. As you can see, the price spike on this one came down, and really this is kind of the level that you need to watch out for. Really, this whole thing here, but I would make sure that you were out profit-wise before I got to the zone if you're taking shorts. And again, it's been tested down to that level, so maybe even front-run that one a little bit if you're taking shorts. But that would bring price back down to 133.25. I think that is a viable trade today. And again, not a horrible Nadex trade. I mean, you're talking about 60 pips to the downside, but you can see right now, I mean, it's only got a 12 pip ATR on the hourly, right? Obviously, U.S. traders come online, this will move a bit more, so it will get a bit more movement. But I wouldn't say that this is a blockbuster set up for a 500 pip move. And again, it's going to take a little bit of banter back and forth with our friends over in the media to, again, give this some more CAD strength and some dollar weakness. Okay. So yeah, I set up for more of a short today than anything else. Primarily because of the dollar strong, and the news is saying the dollar strong when that retraces, again, bringing us down. Okay. Dollar yen. So dollar yen, I like this 106.28. It's a level that was pretty firm. Again, it's on the hourly. Also coinciding with this price rallying up in the overnight, the dollar pushing higher, 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 higher. So I don't think that's bad, right? I don't think that is a bad place at all. Now, on 4 hour wise, you guys can see, or was it 4 hour or was it 30 minute? I forget why we had that one down there. Oh, the retest this one. So that's kind of what we're looking for here is getting short at 106.28. Time-wise, this one, again, is pulling back, and now it's starting to push forward higher. I do think this one coincides with the reversal this morning. Hopefully, it can get up there. I'm really hoping that in the next hour, it can push back up to that level. I don't feel like it's going to, but ideally, I'd like to be up there at the U.S. Open. I think that would give us the best opportunity for a short. Now, this zone also is quite large. This is a 22 pip zone. When you bring it down to a 30-minute, there is kind of a a smaller zone, which may be the better of entries, but I'm just afraid that it's just a bit too far. It's about 27 pips. Kind of pushing it, but can it do 27 pips in 2 hours? Yeah, it could. It could. So I'm just afraid that we're not going to quite get up there, but that's what I'm looking for in this one, guys. And again, you can see that it really pulls the top section of this zone from the hourly. The hourly zone kicks in around the 106.28. On the 30-minute, it's kicking in more up here around 106.34. All right. And I'm totally fine with that. That right now, the 1 to 3 target, it's probably a little bit low because as you can see, this 106.05, we're seeing a bit of a green kind of pullback in base. But that's more or less a retest of the 1 to 3 area. So we'll see. Again, this will be a 10 o'clock reversal this morning. Again, maybe it'll hit it with the market open in 9:30. I think that would be a much better if we pop up, grab it, and then roll over and flip. I think that would be ideal for me if we can get that one. All right. Dollar Swiss. So Dollar Swiss, for those of you who have the weekly newsletter, again, not surprised. I mentioned this. It's basically doing exactly what I thought it was going to do. So what caused a lot of this last week, right, and a lot of this kind of, collapsing back down again, and even on a 4-hour level, you can see, a lot down, back up, boom, crashing again, was all the information with the bomb, right, the explosion in Beirut, okay? Originally, it was the pointing back and forth, U.S. doing this, U.S. doing that, U.S. doing this, U.S. doing, and China doing that. Our embassy, you take them out of there, fine, you take that one. It's like playing Monopoly, right? All right, I'll trade you these 3 houses for those condos, or whatever they're, I forget what they are. They're not. Is it condos? It's houses and condominiums, I think is what it is, or houses and hotels, whatever it is. They're basically just trading back and forth. You take them out of there, we'll take them out of here, we'll take them out. Okay, is all they're doing. Well, last week, obviously there was a large explosion. It was 2 explosions actually. It was a fire, which I think the fire was in the fireworks factory, and then the big explosion came in. And then this weekend, you saw people doing the, I don't know if you guys saw it or not. And again, it just could be totally fake, but you saw the people that were doing the negative image videos, and you can see a missile coming in hitting it. I don't know. I don't know if those are real or those are not real. I haven't heard any more about it. But as the days roll on and people are less and less concerned about that one, that will suck the strength back out. Because if we haven't sent an invasion force yet, then they're like, okay, it's not as bad as we thought it was, right? The tensions are reducing a bit. And again, that's why you're seeing this one rally back up again. And again, it coincides with dollar strength, sure. But also it's, again, this is the Swiss weakness, right? Okay. This is the, oh my God, they got bombed. Holy crap. Who is it? Who is it? Who is it? Then the weekend, it's like we hear nothing, right? Nothing about Beirut. It's like, okay, I guess everything's good. We're not invading. And that's why it's pushing back up again. So, for this one, again, 30-minute level, you guys can see that it came up and it literally bounced right off of the zone that we had mentioned last week. We mentioned there was a little bit of a zone on the top side about this 91.90 area. I would say at this point, it looks like it's had so much movement over the last 3 hours. It looks like it should be pushing back. The big question is, are we going to get a confirmation back to the downside? And again, coincides with what we talked about this morning. We've had dollar strength up until now. Is it time for the dollar to retrace now? Because everybody's been told that there's dollar strength going into this morning. And it's very valid. This could definitely bring this one back down. If you are short, though, if you are going to get short this position, again, make sure you're out before the really 91.35-ish area. Might be a little bit cautious. Really 91.40 is what I'd be cautious with. And it's about a 25 pip run into the downside. Okay. Probably the best idea. Yeah, I don't think I'd mess with this one. Yeah, I wouldn't mess with that one too much. 91.42. And again, you guys are wondering why we mark things off here. You guys see the retest here? And then here is the level. But then here is kind of that top level, right? There's a few different things in here. This was the one that was drawn on the indicator. This is the one that was right here. It's that one. Okay. And again, it's originally off of this. It is really, there's really 2 in here, but it's really off of this level is what it was drawn off of. But understand that here is the original level. Right? This one kind of cleared, came up, based, dropped, retested, and came off. All right. So that's where the original level was. You guys can see it right there. Just above this level. There you go. All right. So again, and in this one, any type of a green pullback and then a red push down, again, that will give us our confirmation. You can get short this one. And again, make sure you're out before 91.42. So NQ today. So NQ in quite a high area. So let's drop this stack down to an hourly so we can actually visually see it. So this is what we got going, right? We talked about this level down here at 11.064, right? Was a level that we had seen kind of push through, right? It was our top, and then all of a sudden it became our bottom. We bounced here, we went much, much higher. We had a top put in, and we mentioned this on Friday, and it came back up. It tested that top, and again, that level looks like that, right? Gave us this big short with non-farm, okay? Since that time, what did we do? We came all the way back down. We hit our profit target. We came across. We actually bounced off of it again, and now has kind of given us this long. Okay, so it's a lot of stuff in a very, very small period, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that yellow line up top. I'm going to actually mark off this level here. And again, remember, this level has been quite powerful. You can see this. We've used this one multiple times already. But what I want to do is I want to delete this just to kind of clear it up a little bit more so we can kind of get a better visual of what we're kind of looking at, right? So again, this level is at 11.066, okay? I think really either of these is probably not horrible targets. I still do believe that this one, once we get the full stimulus, hey, listen, we're going to send checks and they'll be here next week. I do think that that will help propel the market a bit higher. Again, any type of coronavirus talk this weekend or, any type of broadcast or anything going over the numbers of this weekend, I think will also help affect this one a little bit. I think it's really, really hard right now to just basically say, hey, listen, I'm ready to, that's it. That's the top. It's going down, right? I think that's going to be hard to do in the NQ, just because where we are, right? We're getting in elections, the current reigning group doesn't want this to collapse before elections. I mean, there's nothing worse than the market collapsing before elections, right? That's what you don't want. It is August. We got some time, but primaries are out there now. And, he just signed an executive order, which should make people happy, which should also drive, this higher. And remember what happened last time we got a stimulus check. We saw the market bounce a bit, right? So, stimulus checks are good because people all of a sudden have a little bit extra disposable income. I think the thinking on it this time is going to be different, right? Before, when we got the stimulus check, it was like, well, crap, I have my job now, but am I going to keep my job? We didn't know. But for those that were able to fully make the adjustment from working at home, that did not lose their job last time, they got a check. Well, if you get a second check, knowing that you didn't lose your job last time, what the heck could happen to you this time, right? What's going to happen to you? You didn't lose it last time. What possibly could go wrong now that you would lose it now, right? But now you have that extra disposable income. I think that would also give people the opportunity. And again, maybe an NQ or maybe people will start dumping in the gold so they can lose it in gold. I don't know. But I do think it's very, very hard to be like, hey, listen, I'm willing to start taking shorts in the NQ. I do think both these levels need to be respected. The 11.25. And again, remember, my numbers are going to be slightly off yours. I'm adjusting them under, not because I can't see. It's because that's the approximate adjustment that needs to be made. But 11.237, I think, is important, and 11.066 is important. Now, either of these can be used as kind of launch points. Again, if we do break this upper yellow zone and we go higher, it's the same thing that we had here. Look for a break above and use that as a retest to get into a position, okay? We had the failure to go higher here. Again, this zone, it pushed deeply in, and it did give us a buy, right? And now it's stabilized. If it comes down, could that become the entry to the downside? Sure, it could be. Yeah, it absolutely could come down. That's what it was before previously, right? When we go back to 4 hours, you can see boom, collapse, stabilized on number 4, and then went higher. And then it hit here, it hit here. If it hits again, could it collapse and could it come back into this range? Sure, absolutely. There's a minor zone here, but not much. And then you can see there's a big space in a very, very fast amount of time. So I think both those are very important levels. Typically, Monday, the analysis is a little bit different because, again, we don't really have the benefit of the market being open and running. And it's the weekend lag, right? The weekend lag. So I think either of those two are important, again, either for a intraday kind of rollover, again, a spike up, a rollover down, maybe a push down when the market opens, and again, a buy off of this level higher. Or if we can push in and then go base in it and go lower, that would be an entry to go, take a short to the downside with a, acceptable level of risk. So that's where I'm with NQ. Like I said, not an instantaneous setup right now, but we'll see when the market's open in about 45 minutes. Now, S&P is bouncing off of a level. So this is that bigger level that we've had up here for a while. Was it on a daily? Yeah, it's basically on this daily. Like it's finally rallied up. It's not quite in NQ territory, but it's rather close. And you can see we've just bounced off of this 33.59. Last week we talked about, ideally that's where we wanted to open. Like, hey, listen, if we, and I mentioned this on Friday, if we get closed like right around there, that would be great leading into next week, especially if we got no stimulus. Now we got that executive order, so we kind of did get some stimulus. But look how it rolled right off. It didn't continue to push higher. It didn't have the same pullback, but it also didn't have the same catalyst. So if markets decide that they are going to turn and roll over, again, this is giving us that kind of entry and kind of confidence on things. Now, there's a couple ways you can play this one. Again, with futures, it's probably a little bit riskier. But with some of those kind of longer duration Nadex contracts on weeklies, there could be an interesting trade setup here to the downside. Again, no real news in this today. This will be purely media driven. There will be some type of movement with the Open, the U.S. Open, just because, again, people haven't had the chance to trade the markets for a couple days. So, it makes sense that, they would need something, right? They want some type of movement. So right now, I have to say I'm more bearish than anything else on this one. I can see this one definitely kind of rolling and pulling back to the downside. All right. Dow kind of in the same situation I mentioned as well. If Dow was closing up in this 27,501, again, that was an area where I would definitely be into it. I like the level, and you guys can see that, not only did it close, sorry, I was trying to get this adjusted correctly here. Not only did it close, but it kind of actually started to pull back from that zone. Again, the teal here was our kind of alert line. And as you can see, we came back up and tagged that hourly zone. So S&P and Dow are both in a situation where I'm kind of like, yeah, I kind of, I like both those shorts. NQ is kind of a little bit more in the middle of the range. And again, reasons why both the Dow and the, the ES could drop is because while the $400 is good, it's not what people thought they were getting. It's kind of it's less, right? So the question is, how big, how disappointed is the market going to be? If it's not enough and, they're going to say, oh, listen, well, because you got those other checks, maybe we don't need those other things. Like if they come out and say, hey, you know what, maybe we don't need the $1,200 check or whatever the check is going to be, the market's not going to like that too much, right? If it comes in, great. If it doesn't come in, again, if we hear nothing today, this one I could also see rolling back over to the downside. Okay. So again, negative on both of those two. Now gold, look at that. Gold pulled back. Gold really didn't do much. It just pulled back down from the non-farm numbers and just kind of stabilized itself. There will probably be some type of, I would be surprised if there's a surge again. But without a stimulus check, without that disposable income, without, everybody saying, hey, listen, there's going to be inflation, massive amounts of inflation, which, again, go back and look historically. When we have a recession, we do not have inflation. We are heading into a recession. It's coming. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't know. I mean, like I said, this is a news-based thing too, right? We had that top put in. We tagged the top twice. There was 2 entries, and bam, this sucker collapsed. Didn't make the 1 to 5, but again, that's kind of where we expected it to kind of roll over at. Was having issues in this area. Right now, same thing. With lack of stimulus talk today, I could also see this one again with this continued dollar strength. I could also see this one continuing to roll back down as well. It's gonna have some speed bumps here, have some speed bumps here, but without stimulus, without the stimulus checks, I don't really see much in here. Stimulus checks will be the big bumper on this one. So see where it goes. Yeah, that's kind of there's your 4-hour window. I'm trying to think if it grinds back up, would I take that one? Maybe. Let's see. What do we have tomorrow? Got nothing on tomorrow. I was thinking, if this was able to just kind of slowly grind back up again, because again, I think the dollar will start losing, becoming weak again to this morning. If this grinds back up again and kind of retraces this kind of parabolic move down, if it comes back up again, would I take that again? If it was around US-based news, probably, because like I said, it based a drop that tested and then barely touched again and just got hammered down. I think it's probably, barring a news release or a congressional approval of what the stimulus check is going to look like, yes, I would take this level. And for me, again, check it on yours, but for me, that level is approximately around 2063. And again, your number may be slightly off. What I would do is drop it down to an hourly and kind of block off this range here and use the green candle. I think that's probably the best idea. Or you could use the top of either of these two to kind of to bracket that level. But I think either of those two are fine as far as a short goes. If this continues to start grinding down again, I think it will kind of stabilize itself around here. Probably 1976, although, again, so many people are on this inflation thing right now. I don't know if we'll get back down there anytime soon. But that's where I'd be looking for longs again, is the 1976, 1980-ish range. Silver has just again, mentioned this last week. Again, there was entry, one touch. Again, it touched it again and continued to push down. Also kind of more in a sideways pattern. Again, this level now has been hit a few times, right? We were on number 3, and if it comes back up again, it is having a little bit more issues. It will follow gold again. This one really doesn't stand on its own too much. You're still technically positive if you took this a third time, but again, you always got to be a little cautious, right? We took it here, didn't make it to our profit, got really, really close, came back up, touched it, kind of just stabilizing, and now we're in the same area. So I don't know. I'd take it again. That level for anybody that wants to be a bit more aggressive is sitting here approximately around 2860. Again, stimulus check. You mentioned stimulus check, this thing will move. If you don't mention stimulus check, it's not going to do a whole lot. It's probably just going to grind sideways. Because like I said, there's nothing. It doesn't really stand on its own too much, right? There's just not a whole lot there. An Israeli drone, people have way too much free time. Yeah. Condos would be a nice addition to the modern update of the game, though. Yeah, see, houses and hotels. I knew I was right. There's like something in there. I think my kids have like a kids version, and I think it's condos instead of hotels. I really think I think it's condos. All right, let me pull the last but not least. Let me pull oil across for you guys. And let's see, bring this back again. All right, so here's what we got for oil. All right, so as of where we were last week, so here's where we are right now at, obviously it's not 12, but this one, because of the settings in TradingView, right? When we go back and we talk about where we were on the 7th, we have right here. Okay. Now, when this pulled back up again, I mentioned to you guys before that, again, I saw this going lower, and that's what we had. It came back lower into that zone. Now, what I mentioned too is this zone, again, this was the original, 4105 to 4125. Would that now be the top again, or would it be the bottom again? And it ended up holding, right? It based, it came over, it came back and retest. And again, this was all yesterday, and then went higher. So what it did is the same level that we've been marking. Whoops. We didn't want to move that one. I'll just leave it right there. The same level, right, that we've been talking about forever. Nope. Forever came down, it based, it went back up. And again, here's your smaller. I can remove this because we didn't have the break. Where is it? Right there. Right? So again, the same level again, 41. What is it? 4106. Yeah, 41. Basically, 4105 to 4125. This 20-cent range in here has just been such a money level, right? So again, using it for tops and bottoms. Had you been looking for the short, you never got your entry. And I mentioned that I see this being a down day on Friday. It continued. Well, it was a down day, right? And then obviously it picked back up again, and that's where we got the rest of the movement. But right now we're in the middle of the range, right? I would say at this point, again, this level kind of got tested. I'd say probably here is where I bracket this one top and bottom. And again, this would be at 42.45, and then this level down here at 41, again, 25-ish, kind of kicks in right in that range. I think is the two levels we need to look out for. See what the demand story talks about. I mean, we're in the middle of the range now. It's not really turning at a zone, right? But here was your retest from Friday. So I would continue to play this one, guys, on a 30-minute. I think 30-minute is going to give you the best opportunity on this one. And again, you can see that that's where that level of basing was. It popped, it retested, and then continued to push higher. I think you're already out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're already out of this one. Yeah, you're already out. Yeah, you were out right there. You were out right there. Oops, no, hold on. That's not right. There. Right. Yeah, right in there. Okay. So you're out on this trade. Is it valid for one more? Yeah, it probably is. So again, if it comes back in here, again, take minor risk on this one. Again, that level will come in right around 41.23-ish. Again, make sure it matches up your charts on this one. But when it comes down, look for kind of a pop and then with another bounce higher. And again, If it comes out and stabilizes, that's typically a telltale sign that it's kind of like a nope. That's why this one worked out here, because it came in at base and went higher, never gave us the entry, but there is still the short on the other side of this one as well for oil. Okay. But yeah, that's where oil is, kind of sitting in the middle of the range. So, like I said, guys, today there's really not too much out there. Again, it's Monday morning. As you can see, these things are kind of late, 2 in the last 24 hours, 10, 17. Here's our news for the day. Nothing much. We'll get a better read, once things start opening up and really kind of see where traders think that they're going to push things. But that's it. Like I said, Mondays are not normally big and scanner wise. Again, just continuations. Things are actually now in the 4-hour. You're starting to see things starting to slow down. All right, starting to slow down. We've lost some of the checks over here as well. And again, the pound is kind of switching back. So we're seeing that rotation of the dollar, right? I mentioned strong dollar, and some of the other things are starting to kind of pull back again. All right, so that's what I'm pretty sure that's what the morning will look like for the rest of the day. Yeah, it could be. I think they're there's a lot of variance out there. What's up, Jake? How you doing, buddy? All right, guys. So what we will do is I will go ahead and I will pull in the drawing for this morning. For those of you that are new in the channel, to get a ticket, all you have to do is !ticket. Everybody gets one free ticket. So even if you've only been here for a couple minutes, why do I use ATR? Sure, Yellow. Let me explain this real quick, and then I'll go over ATR. Basically, what PipShips do, guys, is they give you channel currency. By watching the channel, you get currency. By winning this contest, you get currency. You can trade that in for mentoring. I typically will do mentoring with students. It could be for some of the indicators that I use inside of the charts as well. And it's just one of those things you accumulate in time. You go to the stream store at the bottom, you can redeem it, and I typically get an email about it. If you did redeem something and I did not get an email, make sure you do shoot me a message on Discord. That way I can make sure that I send you the link to actually sign up for when your mentoring session would be. But it's just a cool something, again, we can talk about anything. We can break down a chart. We can break down your strategy, my strategy, money management, anything you want. All right. So I'll give you guys about another minute to go ahead and do that. YOLO, why do I use ATR? So my opinion is ATR is probably the most beneficial kind of indicator for a number of reasons. One, it gives me a gauge of volatility. Okay. Again, I'm a very big believer in statistics. I'm a very big believer in kind of like the law of averages, right? Reversion to the mean, those type of things. By using ATR, I can get a fairly accurate idea of what something should do in normal settings, right? Can I predict with ATR what it's going to look like when, Beirut has a bomb in it? No, I can't do that, but nobody can, right? But under normal situations, I can determine, hey, listen, this should move this much in this amount of time under these conditions. Okay, that's what the average is. It's kind of like, capturing the bell curve. So a lot of times what I do with ATR is, and especially when I'm, using options as well, one of the biggest things with options that people don't always think about is what's the option expiration, right? It's another one of those kind of levels of things. Well, if I know that this has the ability to move, 3 times what I need it to in that time, I'm happy about the trade. But if I'm using ATR and I need this to move X number of dollars before a specific time, and the ATR is telling me that it's going to have a very hard time doing that, or if it's not at least 60% of that movement, it's probably not the best trade to take, because then you require something that's out of the norm, right? You require something that's out of the norm. All right. I'm a big believer in, like I said, using statistics. What should it do during those time frames? Now, kind of one leg up that I do with it as well, and I keep a track on the side. And I kind of released the information last year for a bit, and it's still online. I haven't updated it for this year. I did it last August, September, I guess. I will actually track news releases and look at standard moves. Like when there is a miss with news, what does the average move look like? What is the average ATR of a move for a missed news release? So it helps me also play kind of pre-news moves, pre-breakout moves, right? But I use it for everything. It really helps me, again, for targeting, for entry, for risk levels. I have rules for ATR all over the place. So for me, it is literally probably the most underutilized indicator that exists in the market. All right, guys. So with that being said, I will go ahead and shut it down for today. We have 12 tickets purchased. We have 8 entrants in. Our winner from Friday is not in here, so it looks like we will have a new winner this week for 25 pip chips. We'll see if anybody can get started. Neuro's like, I'm going to win this one. I'm taking it. I guess I need to watch some more videos. Yeah. All right, so the winner of today's drawing is Nora. Look at that, man. He's buying his way to the top. Buying his way to the top. So, Nora, congratulations. I will go ahead and mark this one as complete. And I will go ahead and get you your pip chips. I'm not sure where you are. Whoops, I don't do this one. I'll do this after. I have to go to the leaderboard and do it. But I will find yours in there and give you your 25. And once again, guys, YOLO did not win. I didn't have time this weekend because I want to spend it with my kids. But I'm telling you, he is 1-1. I'm going to find it. I'm going to put it up there. But congratulations, Neuro. Good win on that one, guys. So with that being said, guys, I will go ahead and close it down today. Like I said, don't expect massive amounts of movements today. Again, if you guys can grab some small stuff, get your 30 pips and, run away with it. Same thing in the stock market. Look for 10 o'clock reversals today. They are particularly powerful on Mondays. I never won. I knew he was going to say it. But again, 10:30 reversals are absolutely great. Look for bull and bear traps based off of the open. But again, I expect more of an inside day today. All right. So I will be on tomorrow, guys. But tomorrow I will not be on from 8 to 9. Remember, Tuesdays are the days that I do the Nadex sponsored one. So it'll be from 12 noon to 1 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. And it is harder for me to respond because I am on a different broadcast system. And I just do broadcast it out to this stream. All right. So with that being said, you guys have a good trading day, and I will catch you tomorrow. Take care.